Welcome to the Town Hall 11 upgrade guide. I'm going to go through all the upgrade priorities and what's going to help you most early on at Town Hall 11. And at the end, I'm going to share some war bases with you guys as usual. So stick around. Let's jump in. So the very first thing I like to do whenever I get to a new Town Hall level is just, first of all, go ahead and buy all the new things. It's going to include the Eagle, the new traps, lots of new buildings to get. And then after that, you want to focus on your offense first. So whenever you go to a new Town Hall level, Town Hall 11 is going to be no different. Work on your offense nice and early. So we got these things up here. I've got the King and the Queen kind of separated on the offense. You can kind of work on the King and Queen as well as some of these elixir things because they do use different resources, so it's not as difficult. So you can work on some elixir stuff, and then once you're kind of low on elixir, you can kind of switch over to the dark elixir, get the King, get the Queen upgraded. You want to get your heroes as high as possible, as early as possible, because it's going to help with your attacks, whether you're doing war attacks, CWL, or even just farming. It does help to have the heroes upgraded. Of course, very early on, you also want to get your laboratory upgraded so you can start leveling up your troops, get your new troops unlocked with the barracks, the dark barracks. You can get your new spells unlocked as well, get your clan castle upgraded, and then finally move on to the army camps and get those extra housing spaces unlocked early on. That's also going to help out quite a bit. And then finally, as far as offense goes, you've got your blacksmith down there so you can continue to upgrade your equipment. And don't worry, we're going to look more into the laboratory upgrades and the equipment upgrades later on, but for now, let's continue on with the buildings. Once your offense is at least mostly done, you're starting to get some builders available. Let's start working on some defense. And I like to do the big defenses as early as possible. It's going to help you defend in war. It's going to help protect your loot. So I think it is better to just go ahead and get the big ones done early on. These are going to be the most helpful on defense. So the Eagle Artillery, number one there. That's your biggest defense. Next up is going to be the Inferno Towers, followed by the Expos. Now, a big thing that you're going to start seeing at Town Hall 11 that you probably didn't see as much of at Town Hall 10 and lower is going to be Electro Dragons. So that's going to be the main point of defense here. So you're going to have your Inferno Towers. I like to keep one set at multi and one set at single, or keep both at multi. I would advise against setting both Inferno Towers to single mode like they are here, because that's just going to open up your base to a hybrid with Hall Griders and Miners. It's going to open you up to Bowlers and Witches. It's going to open you up to balloon attacks. So I definitely advise against running two singles. Either run one of each or run both multi. And even considering Electro Dragons, trust me, you're going to want to run those Inferno settings. But moving on to Expos, I like to run a lot of these on air mode because of the Electro Dragons. All four or just two, at least two, no less than that on air mode. And then after the Expos, the air defenses, because as mentioned, the Electro Dragons are making an appearance at Town Hall 11, so you want to be able to defend against those. After that, we got air sweepers, and I believe this is actually the final level that you're going to put on the air sweepers as well. And then your Teslas there are also going to help defend against those air attacks and ground attacks. After these are done, we're actually going to move into some traps here, and I'd say go ahead and get your Seeking Air Mines done. You can see that's kind of where I'm at on this base here. So get the Seeking Air Mines done, get your Tornado Trap, which you should have already unlocked, get it up to level 2, and then after that, Skelly Traps, and all these things are going to help defend against those Electro Dragons. I'd put some Skelly Traps on air. Actually, I'd probably put them all on air, because most of the ground attacks at this level are very spammy, like Witches, Bowlers, Hybrid, those kinds of things, and they're just not as effective on ground mode. So air Skellies are going to be very helpful. After that, we do have the Wizard Towers. Now we're kind of shifting focus. We're getting towards the later end of the defenses, so now we're looking more at those spammy attacks. Now we're looking at the Bowlers and the Witches, the Hybrids, all the balloons. So that's where the Wizard Towers are going to come into play. And then the Archer Towers are your nice little point defense that can target both. And now we're looking at the Bomb Towers after that, and then Cannons, and then pretty much the rest of the traps here. I've got them in this order. You can do them in any order you want. And then finally, the dead last defense is going to be your mortars. These are going to be the least helpful defense out of everything, and you could even completely skip them. It wouldn't really make too much of a difference here. Now, the only other things that are going to be left are going to be your storages and collectors, and yes, all of these do get more levels. So I would upgrade the storages basically as needed. I'd probably go ahead and do the Dark Elixir storage early on, just in case. That way, if you do start to get full on Dark Elixir, you can hold more of it. Other than that, though, I tend to just upgrade Elixir or gold storages on an as-needed basis. And then if you're hanging around Town Hall 11, you can just kind of do the drills and the collectors as the dead last thing to kill some time. They're not a very high priority thing whatsoever. I would even say if you're ready for the next Town Hall level, don't even worry too much about these levels. You can always do them at some point later on. You're going to be better off moving up to Town Hall 12 with these at a lower level than you are staying at Town Hall 11 to try to get these upgraded, because they're just not that beneficial. And then the last thing I have yet to mention are the walls. You can see they're still in groups of 5. I still think they're easier to upgrade in groups of 5 at Town Hall 11. The walls you want to do as you go. So especially early on, when you're really focused on the elixir and the dark elixir stuff, that's a great time to just take whatever gold you have and put it into walls, and then get your walls done that way. The earlier you get your walls done, the better, because you're going to find yourself ready for Town Hall 12. And that's something you don't really want to go to Town Hall 12 with a bunch of under-leveled walls. It doesn't look great, and it does make a big difference. Even though there are lots of troops and siege machines and all sorts of different things that can go through the walls, you still want them to be up to snuff. And as always, if you guys want to copy this progress base for yourself to kind of help you keep track of where you are in your upgrades, this link will also be down in the description below, so you guys can copy it there. All right, now looking at upgrades in the laboratory. So looking at your troop upgrades first, and this is going to largely depend on you and what you want to do for your attacks, but I'm going to go over some things that I think are going to be very helpful for you early on at Town Hall 11. Now, first of all, you get super troops at Town Hall 11, so this is going to be a first time for that. So you get probably the two best are going to be the Super Wall Breaker and the Sneaky Goblin. The Sneaky Goblin is hands down the best farming troop in the game. So if you want to do some farming with goblins, the Sneaky Goblin is super important to get. Also, another thing is you can actually have the Sneaky Goblin unlocked already, because you have to have your Sneaky Goblin at level 7, which you could have at Town Hall 10. Now, not everybody at Town Hall 10 gets their goblins unlocked or upgraded to level 7. So if you haven't done that yet, I would definitely recommend prioritizing that early on, so that you can have the Sneaky Goblins. If you've already got the Sneaky Goblins, then you're in good shape. The other thing is going to be the Super Barb and the Super Archer. Those get upgraded at level 8, so you do have to upgrade those. You do have to upgrade the Super Wall Breaker. I would probably prioritize the Super Wall Breaker more. The Super Barbarian could be useful. There are some good attack strategies with Super Barbs. Super Archer, not so much. There are a few things here and there, but it's not very common. Now, besides just doing upgrades for super troops, you're going to be well off to do some Electro Dragons if you're looking for an early strong attack strategy. So you're probably going to be unlocking the Electro Dragon at first. So while that's happening, I would say upgrade your balloons, and then once your Electro Dragon is unlocked, go ahead and level that up. That is probably the strongest attack strategy at Town Hall 11. It's incredibly strong, and yeah, you want to get those unlocked early on. You're going to have a nice, reliable war attack to use. Now, if you're looking for something that's going to be more of a ground attack strategy, you might want to go with like bowlers and witches, and then that's also going to include the ice golems, or you can do the regular golems. Either way works, but golems and witches, not golems, bowlers and witches, that's a good ground attack strategy. Another one that's really fun to use is like a queen charge hybrid. Now, that one's going to be a bit more complicated. You want to upgrade your miners, your hogs. You're going to want to make sure you have the Super Wall Breaker. You want to upgrade your healers. So that one's a bit more intensive, but once you get that unlocked, it's also a very strong thing. But basically what I'm saying is, from here, it really depends on what strategy you want to try to learn. Focus on those troops and unlock them. The Electro Dragon's probably going to be the easiest one to go with, either Electro Dragons or regular dragons. But at this level, I do think the E-Dragons are better. And also, speaking of what attack strategies you want to use, I will be doing some Town Hall 11 attack strategies on this channel. That'll be videos to come here very soon, so definitely keep an eye on the channel for that. As far as spells go, there's really not a whole lot that you need. I'd say probably the most overall useful spell to do at this level is going to be the freeze spell. I know things like the heal spell and the rage spell, which are obviously important spells, don't get a new level at Town Hall 11, so that helps out there. I think it is mostly your dark spells that are getting new levels at this level. So again, this comes down to what strategies you want to use. The most universal one's going to be the freeze, but other than that, it's very strategy specific. All right, let's take a look at equipment before we get into the war bases. So for the Barbarian King, the best thing for him is going to be the Rage Vial. That's going to be your main equipment for the Barbarian King. It's going to pair with the rest of these. So you're going to want Earthquake Boots if you're doing ground attacks, or you're going to want the Vamp Stash if you're doing air attacks in most cases. The Vamp Stash and the Earthquake Boots are both very good equipments. You can see I do air attacks, so I've got the Vamp Stash selected at the moment. If you have the epics for him, the Barbarian King has really good epics. Either one of those are really good to focus on. If you have both, then you could even run both. the spiky ball and the giant goblin, both very good. Moving on to the archer queen. So for the queen, again, it kind of depends. If you're doing like electro dragon attacks or if you're doing dragon attacks, then using the giant arrow to snipe sweepers can be very handy. Otherwise, just her regular setup is going to be good enough. She doesn't have access to the healer puppet quite yet, so that's not really in there. So for the most part, you're probably going to run her typical stuff unless you have the epics or you're doing some sort of dragon attack where you want to try to snipe sweepers. If you do have the frozen arrow or the magic mirror, again, both epics are very good for the archer queen. So moving on to the grand warden, if you're doing electro dragon attacks or dragon attacks, again, you do want to use the rage gem. It's actually crazy how strong that is. And the same could be said for a lot of other strategies as well. The rage gem in general is pretty good. The life gem's also pretty good though if you're not using the bulky troops, like if you're doing a hybrid or a witch attack. Honestly, you could interchange the life gem and the rage gem for a lot of these attack strategies. So this kind of comes down to personal preference more so than strategy specifics. However, the Eternal Tome, you always want to run the Eternal Tome. That is something that you definitely want to have, unless you have the epic equipment. If you have the Fireball for the Grand Warden, then that's probably a way you want to go instead of the Eternal Tome. But the Fireball is a very specific thing, so we're not going to get too much into that. Now, the Warden's other equipment, the Lava Loon Puppet, is actually very good for lower Town Hall levels. So if you happen to have unlocked that in the last event, that's also another really good option for the Warden, especially if you're doing air attacks. So if you're doing Lalo, if you're doing Dragons, Electro Dragons, any of those air attacks, I'd recommend doing the Eternal Tome with the Lava Loon Puppet. As you go up in Town Hall levels, the Lava Loon Puppet becomes less and less good. So unless they do some balance changes with it and you haven't invested too much into it, I don't know if it's necessarily worth investing into unless you just want to use it a lot down in the lower Town Hall levels. And that is all of the upgrade priority guides. Of course, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please do leave them down in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer those. Let's get into the war bases. So this is going to be war base number 1. This is war base number 2. And this is war base number 3. And that's a wrap for this video. If you guys have any specific Town Hall 11 strategies you'd like to see me cover, let me know down in the comments below, but those videos will be coming before too long. In the meantime, I recommend checking out this video right here.